onorată audiență, dragi colegi, să declar deschisă ceremonia de acordare a titlului de Doctor Honoris Causa Excelenței sale, domnului James Rosapepe, ambasador al Statelor Unite ale Americii, în România în perioada 1998-2001. Honorable audience, I declare open the award ceremony of Doctor Honoris Causa to His Excellency James Rosapepe, Ambassador of the United States of America in Romania between 1999 and 2001. În acordurile imnului Gaudeamus Igitur, invit prezidiul. In the agreements of the Gaudeamus Igitur, I invite the presidium. Și acum vă rog să vă ridicați pentru intonarea imnului de stat al României. And now the anthem of the United States of America. Mulțumesc, thank you. Îmi face deosebită plăcere să-l invit acum la cuvânt pe domnul profesor universitar dr. Constantin Copotoiu, președintele Senatului Universității de Medicină, Farmacie, Științe și Tehnologie din Târgu Mureș. Professor Capotoio, I invite you,
Your Excellency, Senator Rosapepe, Honorary Director, Member of the Senate of University of Medicine and Farmacie, Science and Technology, dear colleagues and invited guests. It is my honor and great pleasure to welcome within the border of our university His Excellency, former ambassador of USA in Romania for 4 years of democracy, Mr. James C. Born in Rome, the cradle of Latinity, the understood like no one else from overseas what was going on in our country during his term and contributed to the approach of our country to the Western culture and economy. His Excellency represents Maryland, home of the American entry. We invited him after some minutes to give the offer, the title of Doctor Honoris Causa of our University. Thank you.
și acum îl invit pe domnul profesor universitar dr. Leonardo Zanfire, rectorul universității noastre, să ia cuvântul. And now I invite Professor Leonardo Zanfire, rector of University of Medicine, Pharmacy, Sciences and Technology of Târgu Mureș.
Excellency, Mr. President of the Senate, dear colleagues, dear guests, the title of Doctor Honoris Causa is awarded by the Senate of the University as a proposal of the administrative board to outstanding national and international personality that have influenced the evolution of knowledge worldwide and have supported the University of Medicine, Pharmacy, Science and Technology of Târgu Mureș through direct contact, collaboration, training of research teams, and or by engaging institutional relations with university or partner institutions. The Doctor Honoris Causa, the title can be Doctor Honoris Causa Scientiarum for fields of science and Doctor Honoris Causa Beneficiorum Publicorum, awarded to personality outside the academic community for contribution to the benefit of society. We are here today, member of the Senate and guests from and outside the university, to award the title of Doctor Honoris Causa Beneficiorum Publicorum to His Excellency Mr. James Rosapepe, as a distinct personality that has contributed decisively to Romania's international development, especially in the relation with United States of America.
Domnul rector, vă mulțumesc. Invit acum pe domnul profesor Constantin Capotoio de a prezenta hotărârea Senatului de acordare a titlului de doctor honoris causa.
Procesul verbal încheiat cu numărul 5896, cu ocazia ședinței Senatului Universitar din data de 29/5 anul curent, hotărârea numărul 13, se aprobă cu 64 de voturi pentru acordarea doctor honoris causa Excelenței sale, domnul James Rosapepe, ambasador al Statelor Unite ale Americii în România în perioada 1998-2001. Târgu Mureș, 29/5/2019.
Și acum, domnul conferențiar universitar Cristian Boiriu va prezenta laudatio. And now, Associate Professor Cristian Boiriu will present the laudatio. Professor, please.
Thank you. Your Excellency, distinguished guests, distinguished members of the Senate, dear members of the academic community, it is with great pleasure and honor that I present this laudatio on the occasion of the Doctor Honoris Causa University of Medicine, Pharmacy, Sciences and Technology Târgu Mureș awarding ceremony to His Excellency Mr. James C. Rosapepe. Events like this are always filled with emotion due to the celebration of an international public figure by an academic community and the awarding and accepting the Doctor Honoris Causa title, thus making a aforementioned personality a member of the same academic community. It is also a great challenge for me to overcome the emotions and capture the multiple facets of the personality we are celebrating today in only a few minutes. Ladies and gentlemen, His Excellency Mr. James Rosapepe is a member of Maryland State Senate, representing Maryland's District 21 in Prince George and Anne Arundel counties, and a member of the Democratic Party. He was first elected in the Maryland House of Delegates in 1986, serving 2 full and 1 partial terms until 1997, when President Bill Clinton asked him to serve as U.S. ambassador to Romania, where he worked to win friends for America and make the world a safer place. Upon his return in 2001, Mr. Rosapepe was appointed to the Board of Regents of the University System of Maryland, which governs the university. He led the fight against state budget cuts to the university and against double-digit tuition hikes. He helped draft and pass legislation to restore the cuts and cap tuition hikes. His Excellency is currently serving his 3rd 4-year term in the Maryland State Senate, where he works to protect working families as a member of the Budget and Tax Committee and the Senate Democratic Leadership, as well as Senate Chair of the Democratic Caucus. Bilateral relations between countries often refer to political, economic, cultural, and historic ties. Strong bilateral relations are characterized by cooperation between institutions and individuals at administrative and political level, as well as in the private sector, academia, and civil society. In this regard, Mr. James Rosapepe was involved in a large number of projects meant to strengthen the bilateral relationship between Romania and the United States of America. While being assigned as the United States ambassador in Romania, he succeeded in doubling the US investments in our country and increasing US exports. He played a decisive role in the implementation of key economic reforms and major business projects, to include the privatization of the Romanian telephone company and 2 state banks, all of these with US participation. He facilitated contracts with Lockheed Martin, Boeing, and General Electric, and other small and large software companies which were able to develop effective partners. Champion of education in Romania and US, author of major higher education funding in Maryland, and initiator of partnership between University of Maryland University College and Romanian IT professors. Chair and CEO, Petaxan Capital Group, private investment firm and funding shareholder of Transfer Rapid system, serving 2 million Romanians with family members working abroad. Chair and founding board member of Alianța, a non-partisan alliance of American and Romanian organizations and professionals working to strengthen the cultural, economic, and security ties between the 2 countries. Alianța empowers Romanian and American institutions and individuals through education, networking, and facilitating opportunities that benefit the citizens of both nations. In doing so, Alianța is heightening and strengthening the image of Romania in the United States of America, especially amongst key US opinion makers. James Rosapepe promoted a variety of efforts to strengthen Romania's culture of democratic politics, including stronger political parties, greater ethnic tolerance, and more openness in government and the media. The vigorous and omnipresent American ambassador, as the New York Times described him, focused his energy on promoting US business opportunities and on supporting Romania's economic and political transition. The Washington Post said, "He is smart, articulate, listens well, builds consensus, and is knowledgeable about Central Europe." The Baltimore Sun noted his sense of humor and long interest in international affairs. as a supreme proof of friendship shown to the Romanian people, James Rosapepe and his distinguished wife, award-winning journalist Mrs. Sheila Cast, wrote Dracula is Dead, How Romanians Survived Communists, ended it and emerged since 1989 as the New Italy, in which they share thoughtful insights on how Romania has reintegrated with Europe while preserving its unique heritage. We traveled all over Romania. Jim visited all 40 counties, most of them more than once, and Sheila went to some spots that Jim did not. We saw more of Romania and of Romanians, from the mines to the software labs, from the monasteries to the hospitals, than most foreigners and even many Romanians have. Come with us then. Let us lead you past the misconceptions and show you the fascinating Romania we experienced, Jim and Sheila mentioned in the preface of the book. It is hard to describe the value of this book in a phrase, but I will share with you some impressive words which I think defines it. If they gave out gold medals for books, Dracula is Dead would get one. It's a fascinating, long overdue, and timely look at Romania, giving readers an unparalleled view of my country's many, many layers. Nadia Comaneci. His critics will say that he did not do enough. That is probably true, and Jim Rosapepe would perhaps be the first to admit that. It is also true that he could have done a whole lot less. His most notable achievement is that he has set an example which many ambassadors, not least of all the yet to be appointed US ambassador, would do well to follow. Ladies and gentlemen, my endeavor here is the expression of the will of the Senate of the University of Medicine, Pharmacy, Sciences and Technology, George Emil Palade Târgu Mureș, to recognize exceptional work and professionalism. By awarding the title of Doctor Honoris Causa to His Excellency, Mr. James Rosapepe, the Senate not only recognizes his remarkable achievements so far, but also builds new bridges between our university and why not other Romanian universities and our distinguished guest, who in fact today is becoming a member of the Romanian academic community. Thank you very much.
Invit pe domnul profesor Universitar Dr. Constantin Copotoiu, președintele Senatului Universității noastre, să decerneze diploma de Doctor Honoris Causa Excelenței sale, domnului James Rosapepe. And now I invite Professor Dr. Constantin Copotoiu, President of the Senate, to award the Honoris Causa title to His Excellency Mr. James Rosapepe.
Mulțumesc. I really am deeply moved by this at many levels. Obviously, I love Romania, and I love higher education, and I am really honored by this recognition. I'll also say, I gather the vote in the Senate was 48-0. I think that's the only unanimous vote I've ever gotten in all my elections. So I thank the Senate for their support and endorsement. I thank the rector, I thank the deans, I thank all the leaders of this university for the recognition. And frankly, I didn't know this until today, that with the merger of your university, I'm probably one of the early recipients of an honorary degree from the new university. And I'm honored for that as well. It's a very exciting moment, I think, for this community and for the Universitate. I'm going to talk a little bit about what I've seen change in the last 20 years. This is the first time I've been to Târgu Mureș in 20 years. I've been back to Romania, but not to Târgu Mureș. I'm going to talk about some of the things I've seen change and some of the things I think haven't changed. And one, my impression is, that hasn't changed very much, is that the size of agricultural plots for farmers in Transylvania are relatively small compared to the plots for farmers in the United States. So they tell the story of the American farmer who came to visit Transylvania and visited a Transylvanian farmer, small plot of land. And the Transylvanian farmer asked the American farmer, so how big is your farm? And so the American farmer said, well, think of it this way. If I get up before the sun comes up in the morning, and I drive my car all day long until the sun goes down, I won't have gotten to the other side of my farm. And the Transylvanian farmer is thinking about that, and he says, I once had a car like that. I say that only to talk about difference in perspective, and that's what I want to talk a little bit about today. One of the things that has not changed, in my view, from what I see in Romania from 20 years ago, is the broad commitment of Romanians to European integration, to Europe and to the European Union. When I was here, Romania was not in the European Union, but this was the year in which 20 years ago, it was 20 years ago this year, 1999, that Tony Blair, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, came to Romania and said that the United Kingdom was going to support Romania joining the EU. And at the summit in December of 1999, the European Union voted to invite Romania to join. Now, there is some irony. This is also the year in which the United Kingdom is trying to get out of the European Union. And there's also some irony, as you all know, during your accession to the European Union, there was much controversy about whether Romania met the criteria of the European Union to get in. Remember all those controversies? Well, it seems like the United Kingdom now can't meet the requirements to get out of the European Union. It's really quite amazing. But the continuity is Romania's commitment to European integration. And I see it not only at a political level, but I see it with people. And I know there's concern about the number of Romanians who have moved to work some of the year, all of the year in Western European countries. And there's some downsides to that. But there's some upsides to that, obviously, in terms of income for families and people's ability to invest here. But I have to say, I've been in Europe now on this trip for 10 days. I was in London, I was in Naples, and then I've been in Romania. Every place I've been, I've run into people who have been part of this integration. So clearly in London, at my hotel, I ran into Romanians. In Naples, I ran into Romanians. Last night, at my hotel here in Cluj, the waitress spoke very good English. And I said, you speak very good English? She said, I lived in the United Kingdom for 10 years. Of course I speak very good English. And then there were 3 staff people who worked with me here in Cluj when I was ambassador that I wanted to try to get together with while I was here. And I got together with one of them, and I said, so Nicu couldn't join us. And my friend said, no, he and his family are on vacation in Spain. So that's part of European integration. All of that is people integrating. And it's very important. and it's a continuity, and it's really a good thing. Obviously, the economy, compared to 20 years ago, is greatly improved. I read that the Romanian economy has now passed 200 billion euro. The ratio of standard of living in Romania to the European Union has more than doubled over that period. All things that you know. What hasn't changed, and you can see it some, and you understand it better than I do, is the disparities between different areas of the country. That hasn't changed that much. I mean, there's some areas that are doing very well and some areas that are not doing very well. And that's obviously a continuing challenge. In terms of democracy, which is something that you very kindly recognize the work that the United States government does trying to promote democracy in Romania, and frankly these days in the United States too, all over the world. What's new, which is nothing new in Romania, there's some new political parties since I was here 20 years ago. What's not new is there's some old political parties that were here 20 years ago. What's new is that I read that President Iohannis is the most popular European politician on Facebook. Of course, Facebook wasn't here 20 years ago. So these are changes that are significant, but what has not changed from my observation of democracy in Romania from 20 years ago, it impressed me 20 years ago and it impresses me today, is vigorous, open debate, contested, free elections. I must say I was impressed 20 years ago when I came here that only 8 or 9 years after the revolution, the politicians, the public, took elections very seriously. They thought their vote counted. They thought that if somebody got the most votes, they won. If somebody didn't get the most votes, they lose. If someone was in power and they lost the election, they go out of office. Now today in Romania, you take this all for granted. But it's a big deal. Have you noticed what's going on in Russia? Have you noticed what's going on in Turkey? The reality is that Romania has a very strong, vibrant democracy. And that's a very big deal, and I'm very glad to see that hasn't changed in the 20 years. And then in terms of relations among people, among ethnic groups, Târgu Mureș, people in Târgu Mureș understand this probably better than almost anybody in Romania, Transylvania, Europe, maybe the world, that people of different faiths, of different heritages, of different languages, can work with each other. They can also fight with each other. And we see too much of that going on in the world. 20 years ago, I talked about Romania being a model of ethnic relations. 20 years ago was when we had the war in Kosovo. It was 3 or 4 years after 250,000 people died in the former Yugoslavia. Not in Romania. Not in Transylvania, not in Târgu Mureș. Because 20 years ago and today, people understand that we have differences, that we need to value our differences, that we need to celebrate what's special about us, but we also need to celebrate what's special about other people. And that is as true today as it was 20 years ago. What has changed is outside Romania. Russia was no day at the beach, as we say in the United States. I don't know how that translates into Romanian. Russia was was not a great help to Romania, let's say, 20 years ago. And Russia today is a more dangerous neighbor than they were 20 years ago. In Europe, elsewhere in Europe, and in the United States, the kind of ethnic conflict that you were concerned with, we were concerned with in Southeast Europe 20 years ago, we now see in France. We now see in Germany. We now see in the United Kingdom. We now see in the United States. That's a problem. That's a problem for us, but it's a problem for all of us because the vision that you have, the vision that we have of a future where we're all together is put at strain right now. It's not about Romania, but it's about the world in which Romania lives. The other thing that's changed, obviously, is the rise of China and of Asia. We do not live in a European-centric world today. We don't. We live in a world where Europe is very important. We live in a world where North America and South America are very important, and Africa is very important, but where Asia is more important than it's been in several hundred years. And that's probably good. It's good for them, it's probably good for us, but it's a different world than Romania lived in 20 years ago. But here's what hasn't changed, and coming here today reinforces it, is my supreme confidence in Romania. It does not surprise me at all that what I thought 20 years ago has happened. Romania has become a more prosperous country, remained a strong democratic country, remained a peaceful country, remained a country that is really an envy of many, many countries in the world. One of the statistics that I learned yesterday, which I'm sure you all knew, is evidently today in Romania, a larger share of the economy is produced by IT than by agriculture. That's a big deal. That's a very, very big deal, and you all are a big part of it. The other thing that hasn't changed is my commitment to the Romanian-American partnership. 20 years ago, I was getting paid for it by the United States government. Today, I'm here because of my heart. And I just want to say thank you very, very much for all that you do and for inviting me and recognizing me here today. God bless you.
Your Excellency, thank you for the good words about us and about our country. Și acum declar închisă festivitatea de acordare a titlului Doctor Honoris Causa Excelenței sale, domnului James Rosapepe, fost ambasador al Statelor Unite al Americii în România. And now I declare closed the ceremony awarding the title of Doctor Honoris Causa, His Excellency Mr. James Rosapepe, former ambassador of US in Romania between 1991 and 2000.